Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4.
Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome into another great episode as we get things kicked off here. And I hope all of you had a great weekend, just by the way. Went out, saw Wonder Woman. If you haven't already, it's still killing it at the box office. Just crazy how leggy that film is, how that film has legs. And I don't mean the lead actresses. But welcome into the Computer America Show as we get things kicked off here with a number of great articles and stories that we're going to do later on in the program, as well as our guest today. And for anyone out there who has not read the show notes, visit our website or just checked it out in general. Well, Computer America is going to be talking with Reevu Worldwide, and they make might be like a review, kind of like a rear view, but Reevu. And we're going to be talking about their motorcycle helmets. They are great. They have a lot of technology packed in them. And, I believe that they take a lot of effort to make sure that they are affordable. They aren't just for, people who spend way too much money on gear, but really these are great safety tools and really, really, really looking forward to talking with them. But before we get things kicked off there, I, of course, want to mention a few things, including computeramerica.com. That is going to be the most important thing because it will have everything from show notes to, it will have show notes, which has the video and audio archive. It has links to our guest website, as well as any articles that we do. Also, while you're there, be sure to check out the live video stream. That's right, you can watch Computer America, not just listen to it. And also, be sure to check out the social media contest, where you can enter to win a prize from our friends over at Logitech. It's a great prize. It's a M720 Triathlon mouse. Yes, still giving that one away. And it's a really awesome mouse. Check it out. All of that, one last time, computeramerica.com. So with all that out of the way, we are going to, just kind of jump right into this. And this is, again, very excited to have them on. Personally, I am terrible with motorcycles. I mean, I tried once. I, just kind of yanked on the throttle and almost crashed my brother's scooter. I won't even lie to make myself sound cool. It was a 49cc scooter, a road hog. I'll admit it was a big scooter, but I'm terrible with these things. But my brother does ride. I know many people who do ride, and I know how dangerous it can be for riders because you're not the biggest thing on the road. You share the road with a number of other vehicles that, let's face it, it's easy to not pay attention. It's easy not to look twice. It's easy to kind of forget that, hey, you share the road with what are essentially, bicycles on giant motors. So here we go. Joining us today to talk all about this is Mr. Mark Steele. He is the CTO of Reevu Worldwide, and I'm sure he'll give us the proper pronunciation of that. But Mark, welcome on to the Computer America Show. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Ben. Hi, everybody in the US. Great to be on the show, and it'd be great to have explain to all you guys the technology behind Reevu and how we actually came up with a waveguide. We hear lots of talk about head-up display systems. Well, this is a real head-up display system in a real helmet.
Yeah, heads-up display. I'm sure many of our gamers kind of, immediately snap to, Halo or any other first-person shooter that they play. Heads-up displays, very helpful, but very seen as kind of futuristic or cartoony or video game-ish. So before we get into that kind of technology, though, I think we should get a little bit of background, but behind, Mark, how'd you kind of come into this, and how did Reevu kind of come into this, this space?
Yeah. Well, the story behind Review started its life as a research and development project, and what we were trying to ascertain was how we would bring a commercially available HUD, head-up display system, into an article of safety headgear, so that it would be commercially viable. There's talk of the F-35 helmet retailing. Well, I think it's only sort of governments can afford to buy them, but somewhere I think they've been quoted at about $500,000 each, $400,000 to $500,000. So obviously it takes that type of head-up display system out of a lot of people's, let's say, loose change.
Yeah,
just slightly. So it's so actually being able to deliver a commercially available head-up display was fraught with quite a number of technological challenges, and to try and explain some of those, it took nearly 5 years to develop a rigid, non-rigid product in a sports helmet. Obviously, motorsports helmets are probably the most sort of robust. It's a very robust product, and what you must not do is offer the wearer any type of issue in relation to crash. So if a helmet crashes and you have anything rigid on the inside of a helmet, that would be a serious problem to the rider. But obviously, it would fail a number of the international test regulations, because rigid parts in helmets are a complete no-no. In fact, rigid parts on the outside of helmets can also be a no-no due to the fact you get concentration of load issues. And we do see that there's been some parts and some geolocations where they've looked at camera attachments to helmets as being problematic, because obviously if you get a hotspot caused by something rigid on the outside of a helmet, that can be a serious problem. So as you can understand, putting rigid parts internally in helmets, it's a complete no-no. And it was actually being able to develop here an optical device that was of non-rigid construction that would offer some crumple zone characteristics within the body of the helmet, and that was where we first started. It became a lot of the industry people said it was basically impossible. Yeah, Ben.
And I just kind of want, of course, we're going to get around to all of that, but I kind of wanted to, get a better idea of that. I mean, so you're saying that if it wasn't for those pesky regulations, that if you had built like a complete, rigid housing for a helmet, like it would have been easier to do than what you've done here today, where if you could have, put all the parts and just made it more of a computer in a helmet rather than a helmet that is a computer, then it would have been easier to, put something out sooner and probably, much faster if you didn't have to worry about it being a very good helmet.
You have to obviously, risk assessment is extremely important, and what you can't do is bring products to market that would offer the user some issue, whether it be risk or, let's say, in an accident, if you're concentrated load or anything like that, especially in a motorsports helmet, it would be a complete no-no. There are a number of international regulatory standards across the world that would prohibit any rigid part from being inside a helmet. In fact, one of the ECE 2205 standard, it's the United Nations ECE standard, that standard itself doesn't allow, let's say, a rivet on the internal part of a helmet that protrudes the internal shell no more than about 4 millimeters would be a failure. Now, you have to remember that rivet is on the internal part of the shell, but you also have about 1.5 inches of expanded polystyrene padding, and then some face padding to protect you from that rivet. And if it's over 5 millimeters in some geolocations, it's a failure. So they take it extremely seriously. The construction of helmets are not as simple as, we have seen a number of products that have been offered to come to market. However, because of rigidity and the concentration of load, not only would it be a problem to the wearer if they had an impact, it would most probably fail an international test.
So so I mean, this is obviously what sets this apart from just someone who put a Google Glass or an Oculus Rift or something like that inside of a motorcycle helmet. You've actually engineered this to be obviously pass all these kinds of standards. That's very, very important. And how many years did this take to kind of put together to really come together?
We were a minimum 5 years in a research and development phase before we even brought the first product to market. And the first product we brought to market had a fixed optical device. So the waveguide, the binocular waveguide, because that begets very, very interesting. I'm sure a lot of your computer guys will want to understand a little bit more about this subject.
Yeah.
The waveguide, we use a binocular waveguide, and the reason for that was because we realized we'd actually looked at a number of retinal displays and single monocular visual systems. However, a human's eye system is inextricably linked. You have a binocular visual system, it's inextricably linked. There's lots of evidence out there. Anyone that uses a monocular system over time can damage their eyesight. So it was pretty interesting to see a number of monocular visual systems kicking around. I mean, perfectly all right looking down a weapon sight for some 4 or 5 minutes. But if you had to wear it all day, believe you me, it would probably cause some people some visual issues. So developing a binocular visual system was extremely important. And obviously, we had all of these issues, these parameters that we had to adhere to. We needed a non-rigid part. We needed a binocular visual system. We needed a waveguide that reduced the optical radiation hazard, because one of the things that I'm sure a lot of the gaming headset people out there realize, when you get sore eyes and things like that, it can be attributed to optical radiation. Optical radiation is a known hazard. And the projection of optical radiation, you have to be pretty careful, because depending on the architecture, that can be a serious issue. And it's one of the reasons why the military's got more experience than anybody in this field. The military use part of the spectrum that is less biologically damaging than full spectrum light. Full spectrum light, as we know, can be an issue from a pulse modulated emission. So, most of these projectors, the pulse modulate light at you, that can be an issue. And it's something that, the risk involved is something that we currently don't understand. And it was, where we started was actually looking at a safer, looking at a waveguide that could limit some of the optical radiation hazard from, let's say, the screen. Because obviously, if you sat on top of your laptop screen, you got really close to it, your face will get pretty warm.
Yeah.
You'll find that light emission actually has some thermal impact, but it also has a number of other biological cellular issues. So it's something you have to be really careful about. It's not
yeah.
lightly.
Right. So you don't want to strain, obviously, with heads-up displays, you don't want to strain the viewer's eyes. I mean, because, sure, there are people who, ride their motorcycle for, 30 minutes to an hour, and they might be fine. But if you're riding it, like you said, all day long, that little bit of strain over the course of a day, can actually impair your ability to drive instead of helping you drive. So very, very important. And I'm actually poking around, everyone out there, Reevu.com, Reevu.com, if you want to check any of this out. But I see here that you have a fully movable adjustable optic part, which I believe is what we're talking about. What is it actually made of, and what kind of adjustments can you make to better suit the individual?
Well, what we started off, we had a fixed optic in the first development product, and what actually happened, we found that the eye positioning of a human being, that's significantly different over, obviously people have different eye lines, So you have an average that would work perfectly well within the fixed optic. But then we realized that there was probably about 20% of people who were trying the fixed optic helmet on couldn't really get, they just couldn't get that optimum position of the rear vision. So what we decided, we had to go totally back to the drawing board and devise a whole adjustable optical device in waveguide. The waveguide development in the helmet, and it was particular for motorsports. Obviously, we realized that if we could, coat a waveguide on a non-rigid part in a motorsports helmet, then because of the environment that particular product lives in, it has to be extremely robust, and some of the extreme crash systems and in some of that sort of environment, we realized that if we started there, we could then start to look at bringing head-up display systems into the medical world, into the gaming world, because obviously if you start at the most extreme environment, it allows you to then start to look at other environments, because we see lots of other products out there, head-up display systems, that really would benefit greatly from having a binocular waveguide system that can deliver information at the near eye area without using projection. Because you'll find that a number of products in the marketplace and are threatening to come to the market today use what's called a retinal display type of system. So what they're really doing is they're projecting optical radiation directly onto the retina.
Yeah.
Now, what we don't understand currently is, because obviously these head-up display systems are completely new, and a bit like sort of microwave radiation, we don't really know what the long-term, the short-term, or even the long-term effects are going to be, and that there have been some pretty worrying pieces of data and some scientific research that's looked at some of these emissions. I mean, all part of the electromagnetic radiation frequency.
But I mean, isn't that, and I don't know about the in Europe and the European Union, but that's the American way, is you put something out and then 20 years later you come out with a study that says it's, making men infertile or something like that. But that's the American way. You learn as you go.
Well, that's right, Ben. Well, we're a little bit more cautious. What we don't want. I mean, the UK, we suffered greatly with asbestosis. I don't know if you know, but Lloyd's of London actually insured quite a lot of the asbestos issue across the world, and making products that potentially are going to come back and bite in 5 or 6 years' time is not a very good business model, I don't think. And I
Absolutely.
think the fake it till you make it sort of idea, no doubt it fits in some. It definitely fits in some scenarios, but when you're dealing with people's health,
right,
I think you have to be a little bit more sophisticated.
You definitely have to be more cautious with this, and I think we should definitely throw a number out there, because between the military costs of these helmets, you mentioned 400 to 500,000, and even if you reduce that to 1% of its original kind of predecessor technology cost, you're still looking at a $4,000 to $5,000 helmet. Why don't we kind of calm the fears of the masses here? Well, first of all, I would hope, but how much are one of these new helmets that that we're talking about? How much do they kind of go for? Are they affordable, to only certain people? Like, what are we talking?
No. The whole idea of the development, the waveguide development that we put in the helmet was so that we could produce a mass market appeal product, and this helmet currently in the USA retails for $399.
Wow.
There are some special full carbon fiber shelled helmets that would do that's significantly more expensive than that. But what we decided, instead of having a $14.99 sort of product, what we decided was that we would have something that was available to everyone, because obviously being able to see with a hood in a motorsports helmet, it's a lifesaver. So consequently, the more people that participate in that, then the better that is for the brand, the better it is. And going back to the review project, the review project was really an R&D project. It's a research and development project, and what we have tried to ascertain was the stability of the waveguide. Because we have had helmets in the marketplace for a number of years now, and we looked for stability, we looked for safety under impact, and we also, because what we didn't understand was this was a totally new invention and a new process and a new manufacturing process. We didn't know how they would, how the product would, if it would delaminate, because it was a totally new process, as we saw with some of other products where, on some of the waveguides and some of the beam splitter type products, there was lots of delamination. Now that delamination, because obviously going back to the optical radiation issue, optical radiation is a hazard, and it is most certainly at certain frequencies can be problematic to materials. So consequently, we had to understand all of that, and we're very, very happy with the waveguide and how it's reacted, not only within the crash resistance sort of field, but with it's actually stability, the coating process, the injection process, and how we develop the whole product. Very, very happy with it. It's reacted extremely well. In fact, we've got helmets there that have been out and have been tested, and that over the full lifetime of the product.
Right. Tell me about some of these reactions from people actually using this, because I know that people can be very particular about helmets that they like. They they have to fit in a certain way, and they have to give you a good field of vision, things like that. I mean, how has just the general reaction to to your new helmet? How has it been? Are people finding it distracting? Are people finding it just a lifesaver? What's the reaction?
Well, what we say to Ben is, do not look into the optical device, because the reason why we say that, the optical device is positioned just above the eye line, and the reason for that, what you don't want to do if you're traveling down the motorway on a motorbike at speed, you do not have time to look into or be distracted by anything. And because of that, the optical device is positioned in such a way that you use your peripheral vision exactly the same as how you use, let's say you're traveling down the highway and you'll see something come into one of your mirrors. Without actually looking at it, your brain actually picks it up. And that's exactly what we say to people to use. I mean, obviously in other fields, the waveguide, let's say in a medical headset, we're currently working on a project for surgeons, for head-up display systems, and a surgeon standing in the surgery. So he can actually take his eyes off the patient and look up into the optical device. It's not a problem. That would be a significant problem at speed on a motorway. What you must do, we deliver the information for the user's peripheral view. The device was specific in this field in particular. It was specifically designed so that the user doesn't have to refocus, so that they can actually see. And if anybody's out there, if you'd like to put your index finger across the top of your eye line, so just where your eyebrows are, and look directly forward, don't look at your finger, just look directly forward, and you can see your index finger without actually looking at it. And that's what we suggest to people, to actually not look into the optic device, because it's not as safe as using your peripheral view, and because of the close proximity of the front reflective surface, it allows you to actually be able to see without.
And obviously, it doesn't block any kind of field of view, ahead of you, to your left or right. Obviously, it's you're still going to get the full thing. So
Ben, you have to. The international standards are pretty. The UN ECE 2205, ANSI tests, GIS tests. They are all prescriptive you cannot have anything in what we call that optical clearway. Nothing can block it. In fact, I think in some geolocations, colored visors are actually illegal because they reduce the light coming in. Now I know how safe they are. When I'm riding out, if sunny day, if you've got a dark visor on, makes things a lot more safe. However, in some geolocations, those visors are legal. In fact, we can't ship the product with colored visors. The customer can fit a colored visor themselves, but we aren't able to ship it because under international laws, that helmet has to arrive to the customer with a completely clear visor, and the visor has its own standard for clarity, etc., etc. So it's the issue of putting things in motorsports helmet is fraught with lots and lots of nuances. All the things that we learned, and like I said, the review project was an R&D project, basically to understand how a waveguide, a binocular waveguide, would react in that environment, but also how the manufacturing process of the waveguide would stand up over time. Because another thing that we didn't understand was how well this product, this binocular waveguide, would actually stand up because of the new process. And that was really important, because imagine putting it into a gaming headset and somebody's, let's say, paid $600 or $700, or and all of a sudden after having the product 2 or 3 years, it starts to delaminate because of some of the imagery that it's been exposed to.
Oh, they're gonna be mad. They're gonna be furious. And Mark, let me just kind of cut right quick, because we've been talking about a lot of the technology behind it, and that's great. Let's talk about real quick the what the user actually sees, because are we talking like health bars and ammunition and blah blah blah? Like you mentioned the finger test, above the eye line, but how does something above your eye line? What do they physically see? Because on the website here you have 5 green exclamation point circles. What do you really see to kind of get a better view of what's behind you on a motorcycle?
Well, on a motorcycle, if you're actually on a highway, you'll normally find that you look towards your, the view in front of you, and when you're in that position, you can see perfectly well behind you. So the vehicle's coming up behind you, you can see in your peripheral mirror. It's like having a central mirror system, but at very, very close proximity to your eyes. And the reason for that is because you actually see into infinity through the optical device. You're not actually, the front reflective surface, something that it takes quite a bit of getting used to, but that front reflective surface allows you to see into the rear at whatever's coming up behind. And like I said, the motorsports helmet product in particular, we tell everybody, it's actually in the safety manual that comes with the product, only use your peripheral view. And once you get used to that, it's a bit like, in fact, we're talking about before about using your index finger above your eye line. If you stick a finger up in front of your eyes, but don't put it directly in front of your eye. Just take it to the side and look directly forward. You can see your finger perfectly well in your peripheral view, because of the position of the reflective surface in the waveguide. That allows you to see perfectly well behind you, but only using your peripheral vision. And that's the real beauty about the product. It's safe because you can see behind, but without actually having to refocus. Refocus is a killer on a bike. If you had to refocus on anything, and only for a split second, people tell me about, there's some devices out there where, you can have a look at it and you have to it's an absolute disaster.
Hey, Mark, and Mark, I'm gonna stop right there. Would you mind staying over so we can, give this a proper send off?
Oh, sure.
Perfect. So yeah, we'll be right back here on Computer America with Mr. Mark Steele, CTO of Reevu Worldwide, and we'll be right back. More Computer America just after this.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 31 minutes past the hour, and we continue on with Mr. Mark Steele. He is the CTO of Reevu Worldwide, and we're talking about their motorcycle helmets and all the technology that's packed in them to, let's face it, it's hard enough being a motorcycle on the road, but it's even harder when you kind of have to watch out for yourself. You have to be completely in it for yourself. And yeah, we're talking to Mark about some of the how it actually works, how it offers you a small line above your eye line that lets you see what's behind you, and obviously you can see oncoming cars or what have you without having to turn your head. I've seen it time and time again. It's not the safest thing in the world, but motorcyclists, they, kind of sit up straight, turn around 180 and look behind them. And then, of course, in that 3 seconds it takes, hey, something can happen in front of you, and just making this whole thing a lot safer. So, yeah, so why don't we, obviously a big part of this, Mark, has been the waveguide that we've talked about, the actual heads-up display technology, and you've touched on it a number of times, but do you see maybe Reevu kind of taking this to other applications, or is the waveguide going to be in motorcycle helmets exclusively?
No, we're currently looking at a number of different projects, from gaming headsets. What we've actually seen, Ben, is that there's a number of products on the marketplace and threatening to come to market, which use what we call retinal display, where they focus optical radiation directly on the retina, either through a magnification focusing lens or other. Now, what we know from the experimentation and research and development that we carried out, we don't actually understand what the risk involved is in that. And if you look at some of the gaming headsets where they tell you not to use them for any more than 30 minutes, etc. If you look in the very small print, it actually basically tells you how potentially there can be an issue. And we hear lots of people who have sore eyes. I know I've tried a few, and very impressive, but that can end up with having pretty sore eyes and things like that. And obviously, if you understand what we do know about optical radiation, then you'll know that it's not the sort of thing that really could be a risk to someone over longer periods of time. And what we don't know from this particular field is what the long-term risks are going to be. In fact, I read there was an article in one of the major financials just the other day by one of the leaders of one of the larger tech companies, and they're talking about immersion, home immersion, where everything's interconnected. And we're looking at data now about microwave radiation. Microwave radiation is not risk-free, and obviously, if you're immersed in, let's say you're living in an environment where you've got lots and lots of these emitters. We hear a number of scare stories about smart meters, but can you imagine having a lot of different devices that are all emitting microwave radiation, all at the same time, different pulse modulated waveforms? We know that there's no long-term studies that have said that this is safe. We all know that radiation is an issue, but what we don't know is what these low power non-ionizing radiation emissions potentially can be, and
You just, Mark, you just put a dark tint on, I would say, 40% of the companies that come on this show, because they all offer, Internet of Things, your appliances, and, in some cases your clothes. I mean, yeah, this is a technology that's fast coming into people's lives, and it's true. There have not been a lot of studies into it. We just kind of take it for granted that Wi-Fi or microwave or whatever is safe enough.
They said the same about asbestos, Ben, and also said the same about smoking. And what's actually happens is we become more and more aware of these issues. I mean, let's be honest, microwave radiation, it has a lot of other names. I would suggest to everybody out there, why? If you can't actually see it, I mean, like I said, we're talking about full immersion. What I do know, there's been quite worrying epidemiological studies in relation to microwave radiation. I look at the IoT of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a technologist. I love technology. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But what we have to do is make sure it's safe. And if what we don't want to have is a total disaster, and what happened with the asbestos story, cigarettes. I mean, the cigarette industry fought for years to suggest that cigarettes didn't cause cancer and they weren't carcinogens. Well, guess what? Microwave radiation is a class 2B carcinogen today, and it's potentially a class 2A. And the full immersion from microwave radiation and optical radiation. Optical radiation is a whole other ball game to microwave radiation, believe you me. And like I said, it's one of the reasons why the military use part of the spectrum that's less biologically hazardous to pilots.
I don't want any listeners out there to think that we're kind of blowing this out of proportion. I mean, we've seen this with the Nintendo 3DS 3D handheld device, where it came out, it offered glasses-free 3D on a little 3-inch screen, but optometrists were finding that it was putting so much stress on young kids' eyes, because they were developing so fast that they actually said limit your child's exposure to the 3D part of it, to like 30 minutes a day. They said the same thing. I'm like, this happens all the time, doesn't it? Where technology comes out before the studies do.
Almost certainly. I mean, most of the headsets, most of the manufacturers out there have taken the sensible decision to, say they're not for children. But what I would suggest is, if they're not for children, why are they fit for adults? Because, your eye develops over time. The cellular structure changes, all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
What are the long-term risks associated with this? And a lot of these technologies are directed at the higher earner, and with some of the nice names that are associated with them, I would suggest makes people think that they are totally risk-free. That's most certainly not the case. We are in a very interesting sort of world where these long-term studies haven't been done, and the potential to do harm is significant,
right?
And it's a potential issue. I mean, like I said, we've looked at some of the epidemiological studies, and they're looking really interesting in relation to diabetes, anxiety, depression, cancer rates, etc., etc., etc. So there are some studies out there that are starting to point in some very, very worrying directions. And everybody out there, like I said, I'm a technologist. I love technology. Safe technology, extremely important. What we don't want to do is, as technologists, get into the asbestos story where we haven't done our homework. And I would hate to think that technologists have lost control of themselves, where all it's all about is the idea and not about making sure, like I said, the development that we've carried out in the review project, we worked for nearly 5 years to test. We had a number of issues that had to be overcome. Rigidity, optical radiation hazard. One of the things that we came across very early on in the project
The
was
the importance of getting the idea to market, getting it getting it out to the public, certainly has trumped in recent cases the idea that it should be healthy for the consumer market, or it should be safe and something like that. I mean, we're gonna see a lot. I think we have sufficiently scared everyone. If you're still listening, thank you so much. But we've sufficiently scared everyone about buying the Internet of Things connected underwear. And let's talk, and I hate to kind of rush you off, Mark, but let's talk about some of the other safety features of the helmet in particular, because obviously it's a heads-up display, it's rear view, it's all that good stuff. But as you've made perfectly clear, it's also a helmet. It's also a fully fledged helmet. So I'm seeing a lot of pictures on your website of people using it on one of the most grueling applications of a motorcycle helmet, and that is a racetrack. How have some of the impacts that it's stood up to, how's it do as a helmet?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I mean, it's like serendipitous. We did design the optical device as a crumple zone, but laterally, one of the things with motorsports helmets, if you take a lateral load, so basically on the side of the helmet, and this happens quite a bit on racetracks, there's a potential to do significant harm. And because of the crumple zone design, we had to take some material out of the internal part of the helmet, so we replaced it with this crumple zone design, and there's some architecture in there that helps that. But what we didn't realize, which came out later on, was the rigidity in the optical device in its lateral sort of position. It then helped enormously. So where we had people where that came off at very high speed. In fact, we've got quite a lot of helmets, because what we do, we always recover. Most of our guys who are racing, we recover their helmets if they've been impacted, so that we can do some more analysis of the project, for future product development. And where we've actually taken the helmets back, where we've seen significant impacts laterally, the motorcyclist has survived, which
Very
is
cool.
absolutely fantastic. And obviously, when we've actually tested the helmet laterally, it offers fantastic safety from that perspective.
I mean, obviously, when you say crumple zones, all I hear is, of course, this is something that is going, your helmet is going to break in a predetermined way. It's going to, it's probably a one crash use, but for all I know, because I don't ride motorcycles, probably most motorcycles are one-time uses. But as long as you live, as long as you don't get the unexpected brain implant, then you are, you're in a good place. And it sounds like you have, it's an ongoing process to design these things and to obviously make sure they're the best for, not just for your view, not just for general safety, but obviously for impact and crashes and things like that. Let's talk a little bit about if people wanted to see these, buy these, try them on, get their hands on them. Are you fully commercial? And, do you do distributors, or is it all through you? Where can people see these?
Now, Ben, we have a distributor. We've got a Review USA outfit who distribute the helmets into the USA. So the helmets are available now. And like I said, there's there's quite a few thousand helmets on the ground in the USA. There's lots of people riding around with them. Going back before, the review project was, in effect, a research and development project, so that we could ascertain how this binocular waveguide would react. We're very happy with that, and obviously in the review project, that's currently going forward. However, what we are most certainly assured of is that the binocular waveguide can fit into medical headsets, military health headsets, any article of headgear where anyone would require visual systems.
It's a little entertaining to me that you say that you kind of adapted this or took inspiration from military inspired headsets, and then you say, well, thinking of the applications, the military would love this. It's like you went from military to consumer back to military, all in a neat little circle. That's a little funny to me, of course.
Well, what happens, because we looked at the first military headsets, and obviously, they've been trying since the 80s to have a successful headset. And I mean, if you look at the F-35 helmet, it is a bit on the big side. So, big helmets, believe it or not, offer other issues to the user, because obviously you get terminal velocity issues. We know that, there's been some reports about the F-35 helmet, and even at $400,000 or $500,000. Because of its size, it's an issue to some pilots. So what they've actually done is actually restrict certain pilots with slimmer necks from actually flying with the helmet on. Because obviously, if you're eject and you've got a bit of a thinner neck, that could be a bit of an issue.
So yeah. I mean, a helmet that snaps your neck when you take one of those G turns, it's that can definitely be a problem. So and listen, Mark, I'll be completely honest with you. I'm probably gonna get one of these. We'll let you know how it goes. But once again, my brother he rides every single weekend, and as much as we like him out there on a motorcycle, we personally think it's dangerous, but he loves it. One of these just sounds like a dream come true. So if anyone out there wanted to find more information, where would you send them to?
Review USA. I'm sure if they type in Review USA anywhere, they'll actually come across the guys in the US who can hook them up with a retailer or distributor somewhere in their state.
Oh, very, very good. And yeah, of course, we'll have a link in the show notes directly to Reevu.com. That is, REEVU.com. And it has, a lot of the technology, a lot of pictures if you want to see this. If you're watching the video portion, we were showing the videos and things like that. But Mark, this is, I'm glad that we finally had you on. This was a very interesting topic. And again, this is so cool. I'm looking forward to having you guys back on in a year or so because, you really seem invested in continuing to develop your product. It's not just like, oh, we're done. We've made the best helmet possible. You seem very interested in making a better helmet year over year.
It's exactly what we want to do, Ben. Safety first, and safe technology. That's really what we want to try and develop. Yeah, that's what we're about.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, and Mark, again, we'll contact you again. We'll of course get back in touch and have you back on. But brilliant. I want to say, Mark, thank you so much for coming on the Computer America Show.
And thanks to you, Ben, and thanks to everyone that's listening out there in the USA. Great to have another chat with you guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. So everyone, one last time, Mark Steele, CTO of Reevu Worldwide. Mark, have a great day. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thanks. Cheers, Ben.
Bye-bye. All right, and there he goes. Everyone, once again, there, Reevu, check it out. Show notes. We have if you tune in for the last half of that or something like that, please go ahead and check out computeramerica.com where we have the video and the audio archive. And of course, we have podcasts, so if you want to take us on the go, you can do that as well. Now, before we jump into computer and technology news, we actually have a moment from one of our sponsors. So let's get into this. And ZipRecruiter, that's right. Are you hiring? Do you know where to find the best place to post your job to find the best candidates? Well, you guessed it. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to over 100 plus job sites with a single click. I know. It's pretty awesome. So, and that's why ZipRecruiter is different. Where, of course, unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them. Where, in fact, over 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in just 24 hours. Very nice. No juggling emails or calls to your office. Simply screen, rate, and manage the candidates in one place in the easy-to-use dashboard available through their service, ZipRecruiter. So find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes and find the most qualified candidates with immediate results. And right now, that's right, right now, Our listeners can post jobs to ZipRecruiter for free, all by going to ziprecruiter.com/free trial. That's right, ziprecruiter.com/free trial. And one last time, ziprecruiter.com/free trial. Give it a try, and hey, it could be just what you're looking for to fill that position. There you have it. All right, and that again by ZipRecruiter. Thank you so much for, of course, supporting Computer America. And I think in our last 10 minutes of the program, we are going to jump into computer and technology news. That's right. This is very exciting. So here we go. Computer and technology news. I like that one. So, yeah, let's see. I have them all right here, and there are quite a number of them. How about this one? This is a neat little article because it really shows the power of automation and why, as much as you like to be high-minded, as much as you like to think that people are not going to be replaced because it's just the proper thing to do. People obviously need work to survive. They need work to live. They need work to pay their bills, support their families, blah, blah, blah. Well, in some cases, it just doesn't make sense on the consumer side or even on the manufacturing side. So here we have it. This is from geek.com. And this is right. 400 burgers per hour robot will put teenagers out of work. Although, to be fair, I think fast food industry employs a lot of people from a lot of different age groups. But here we have it. Once again, geek.com. And let's see, Lee Matthews. So, just a quick heads up, high school students, you might want to save your job application efforts for retail gigs because the fast food space is about to be invaded by robots. I completely understand after this. We already showed you an autonomous grill master that can monitor and flip an entire grill full of patties. I remember seeing that one. That was actually at a tech show, and it used infrared cameras to determine the doneness of a burger, and it had a fantastic series of robots, of robotic limbs and servos and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it stood at a grill like any kind of grill cook and flipped your burger and yeah, served it perfectly. It was very cool to see. But today's bot is even more versatile. Where not only can you cook it, where not only can you cook the patty, but it can also dice up fresh toppings like tomatoes, pickles, and onions. And it can even deftly stack everything on a toasted bun. Next level assembly. There you have it. And that this autonomous marvel was designed by Momentum Machines and just wrapped up a successful funding round to the tune of $18 million. It's pretty clear why they've attracted so much cash. So they're not saying that these things are going to cost $18 million. It's that they have $18 million to play with in developing something to build out the ecosystem around these things. So they said that keeping a fast food joint fully staffed can be tricky at the best of times, and it can also be kind of expensive with those pesky human employees that can get injured on the job. And of course, they need stupid things like health insurance and overtime pay and, compensation. Those things that people demand to have, and rightly so. But here we have it. Robots, on the other hand, will work and work and work as long as they're properly maintained and allowed to function the way that they're designed to function. Even a complex robot like this one that costs $30,000. Think about that, $30,000 for a robot. You think that's pretty expensive because, hey, you're paying, let's say the fresh out of high school kid, you're paying a minimum wage, $8.35 an hour, or whatever it is around your parts. But let's say it's $9 an hour for nice round numbers. $9 an hour, and you're paying him 40 hours a week. You're looking, $10 because I'm not good with math, but $10, $400 a week, and you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of, not much, $20,000 for that one employee. But at the same time, that's just 40 hours a week. This machine, again, if properly maintained, if properly serviced in the way that it should be, can work 24 hours. And of course, we'll draw electricity and things like that, but it will work 24 hours, never get injured, never call in sick, and really never complain. It will be a model employee doing exactly the one job it was designed to do. And here's the best part. It is capable of churning out up to 400 burgers every hour. Now, I've never had to cook in a professional setting, but I will say I've never made 400 burgers in a day, in a week, in a month, let alone in a single hour. Crazy. So your burger could be one of those 400 if you happen to frequent the Bay Area, where they are getting ready to open their very first restaurant to show off their bot in a real-world setting. They've chosen a spot near the Moscone Center, and everyone who is in the Bay Area, that's right, you are currently thinking, I know, me too, but not so much. And everyone else, well, undoubtedly, these things are going to be coming to an area near you. Probably. Because let's face it, again, $30,000 for a robot that does 400 burgers an hour. It's kind of hard to justify a human employee that is probably going to cost you a bit more, other than some kind of sense of altruism. It doesn't really make much sense. So, all right, we have time for just one more story, and I really wanted to get this one out of the way because, hey, it happened today. And it's huge news. This is not as fun or as entertaining as the burger story. Instead, this is big news. This is bigly news. And here we go. GOP data firm accidentally leaks personal details of nearly 200 million American voters. Yeah, I know. So, they're saying that with these American voters, 200 million, this coming from Gizmodo, we have a link in the show notes, but Mr. Del Cameron and Kate Conger, and they reported, and by the way, everyone, has reported that that political data gathered on more than 198 million U.S. citizens was exposed this month after a marketing firm contracted by the Republican National Committee stored internal documents on a publicly accessible Amazon server. Yeah, so it was leaked. It's not even hacked. It's like a hack would involve some kind of active, kind of going through and determining passwords and, social engineering or whatever have you. It was just stored out in the open. Someone stumbled across it and has since taken up all of it and released it. So they said that the RNC, by the way, this was a leak through the Deeproot, and they paid Deeproot $1 million last year. And that was according to the Federal Election Commission's reports, but its servers contain records from a variety of other conservative sources, paid millions more. And that all of these were in one place, rounded up, and yeah, it was 200 million voters that would be used for data analysis. And they said that, it goes into and names a number of different packs. This is obviously going into a number, but they have files each contain video links to related political ads stored on Qatar's servers. So yeah, check it out. Again, we have a link in the show notes if you want to check this out. It is disappointing, to say the least. You do not want your voter registration leaked to everyone just because you happen to, be collected by one of these agencies. But there you have it. Everyone, music means we are just out of time. Thank you so much for joining us here on Computer America. Please check back in tomorrow
60 seconds.
as we go. Let me check the calendar. Tomorrow on the show, we have SNDR.com. That's right. And we have the CEO on with us. He is, there we go. He is, we have the CEO with us, Sean Murphy, talking all about, what they do over at SNDR and how they can help you take back control. This is, I believe, like a data, cloud secure storage. I'm sure the GOP would love something like this. But in the meantime, everyone, we're just about out of time. Thank you so much. And last time, thank you, Reevu. Everyone, have a great day. See you then. Bye-bye, everyone.
Ten seconds.